All right, everybody, we're back at it again here with another episode of the Fobs Pod, and I have my co-host Chris with me.
Yeah.
So today we're gonna talk about a wide array of things currently happening, both personal, both international, anything that's happening, around the world. We're here to give you our commentary. So yeah, Chris, what's been going on with you? Because I've been trying to do a podcast, but people are busy right now. So tell the
Yeah.
people what's going on.
We've been wanting to do a podcast for a while, but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
But what was the reasons that we wasn't able to do it? Because we have an audience now. So
Yes,
we
we
gotta
do.
respect
And
them.
yes. And I
But
was thinking about it. It was in the front of my mind.
yeah, no. We honestly speaking, life happens. A lot of things come in between things. So we are adults. We're forced in this slave system that we're forced to either go to school or go to work, and anything that you have, any space you have between those two, you gotta really plan like meticulously. But it is what it is. But aside from that, like I would say, man, the fall is coming in hard.
Yes,
The
yes.
weather's starting to hit. We had a few. Honestly, the first month and a half of September and October, I'm like, yo, if this is winter, if this is the fall, I welcome it. But now, since this week, it's been getting cold. So,
Yeah.
because have you heard of the what's it called, the phenomena like that makes people depressed during like the winter months, the colder
Yeah,
months?
I've heard like the seasonal
Yeah,
depression.
yeah, seasonal depression. Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. Niggas get daily depression. But like, yeah, I'm saying like, honestly, it's a big thing, right? Because like there are people that move away from the country or go like to warmer places just to escape the colder months, right? So it's a big thing. Like nobody would spend that much money if it didn't affect them that deeply.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why like Florida was a big destination in terms of Canadians going there, and then since the Trump phenomena, people haven't. I heard there's some people that even sold their vacation homes, like Canadians from here that sold their vacation homes there. So because of the state of the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it's very, it's life. I feel like life happens in a, like things could go throughout the life of a relationship. Things could be so good, like so normal, so just you feel such a belonging, such a like connection with with the two parties, right? Whatever they are, however form they take, right? And then suddenly one action happens, and it could just ruin everything, right? So
Yeah.
so that's
No,
like,
I've been seeing that a lot, especially like in politics or in the entertainment industry where two people are very close, and then something happens and it
and
just
and and bro, it's really not even on a political stage or any. I'm talking about even on your personal
yeah.
relationships and stuff, right?
Yes.
Like there are sometimes like the trust is so fragile, that like you can go 30 years. I mean, I'm not that old, but you can go like 30 years with this, with having a good relationship with a friend, with anybody, and something just happens, the trust is gone. And once the trust is
Do you
gone,
think it's the trust though? Because it could be like, what do you think it's the
I
trust?
think I think it's not only the trust. I think there are different factors, right? But I think the biggest factor, even because the trust is hard to overcome, right? Because if you even like if you trust, like if you don't trust somebody, you can tell them your intentions, but like you will tailor, like you will always kind of like have you, basically it doesn't allow you to be intentional, right? To be like fully invested in what you're saying to them, whatever is happening between you and them, because you all like once you're hurt, like your heart, you go through like heartbreak or disappointment, you're always hedging, right? You're always in the back of your mind. You can say something, but in the back of your head, you're not fully invested in that, right? So that can affect, that can be hard to overcome, like in a relationship. But what's even harder to overcome is the expectation, right? So you go 30 years, you're like, okay, this is my homie, like we've been through everything. So there is a set of expectations there, right? On what that homie can bring to you in case of, like, you being in a difficult situation or whatever, right? So when that expectation isn't met, that's a whole different. So this is where perception meets reality, right? That's always where the issue is, right? Because you, like, when most of the time, like, you tell yourself like you have a good relationship with somebody, it's more like you have a lot of positive conversations with somebody that changes your perception of them, right? That's never really tested. Like, whatever they tell you, whatever you tell them, is never really tested. And then once there's a test, or during the time you were talking to them or you were having conversation with them, they already set the bar here, and then there's a test, and then they fail. So that means, and then you're disappointed, right? Alors que the whole time, like, maybe the the basically the what that person would do for you was the same the whole time, right? But because of your conversations, because conversations are there, people exaggerate a lot, right? In conversations, right? So they make you think that they would do they would get you the world, they would do everything, anything for you, right? Based on those conversations. It's not even the actions that they've done for you so far, it's the conversations, right? And then when it comes to actually doing it, that's when people realize that I thought we were here, but we were actually here, right? But the drop
Mm,
off is what causes the rift, right? In my opinion, like,
that's a good.
yeah. But I would,
So from what I understand, basically, there's a lot of things that cause eruption in a relationship, but the trust is like
yeah,
it's like the strongest
the the the,
the strongest factor. Like,
the it is the
yeah,
strongest factor, because at the end of the day, bro, like, you can be in a lot of, like, edgy situations, like dangerous situations, fragile situations, but, like, if, like, let's say, per se, like, if we're talking about, like, sports, let's say a soccer team or a basketball team, right? I always see they're down like 20 points in the first quarter, right? How do you muster the courage and the motivation to keep going, to still keep playing, right? It all at that point depends on where the team is mentally together, right? If they're a team that, like, outside of that setting, they're a team that treats each other good, like, they have a positive interactions, they really, like, trust each other, they've been through stuff that made them, like, trust and see, in each other who they really are. In that court, it's gonna come out like that, right? It's gonna be expressed like that, because most times it's the reaction, right? If they have a lot of infighting in, like, outside of the court, if they have a lot of issues, it's gonna show, right? Because the issues are there, it just needs a trigger, right? Same thing with the good relations. The good relations are there, they just need to be triggered to come out and show themselves, right? So I think that's how I look at it, personally.
okay.
Yeah, man.
And so as you can see, guys, we're in a new
Setting.
setting. So
We upgraded,
yeah.
We spent money, Chris. Chris, we dropped like what, $2,000 on this?
Yeah.
Nah, we just playing. This is not ours, but this is basically what we aspire to be. Like,
Yes, yes. And
in
even
a,
more. Even
eh,
more.
obviously even more. But I'm saying this
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah. This
this
is
is where
the
because we have incremental goals,
yes.
right? We get to this first, and then we aim higher. You feel me?
Yes.
So yeah, man, we aspire to get this type of studio, obviously available to us, anytime we want to record. But as for now, this is not this is our school, right?
Yes.
That we're recording at. But it's gonna come. Just stay tuned and keep supporting. More importantly, the more you support, the more we get. Chances we have to get there. You feel me?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Aside from that, so what's been happening in the world, the news? What's been cooking out there? Cause bro, you know what I was talking. I made the video the other day. I was talking about like the fact that the state of the world in terms of like how polarized it is, it's completely based on the mindset, our perceptions, right, of the world, current perception. Like, and I feel like we're all in the same page, because you know how I know that? Because anytime I see a controversial thing online, right, through any social media, right, when you go to the comments, you have a binary, like you almost like all the time have a binary reaction. You have those that are supporting it, or pro whatever is going on in the video or the picture, and there's those that are extremely against whatever is going on in the picture, right? And the comments just completely split, and they are so nasty, they are so like visceral, like they. So I feel like because of what we see, because of the amount of data we have access to today, like it's almost like I think this can affect us mentally at some point, because bro, never in human history humans have looked at images, at videos, at the rate that we're doing it right now, right? So like, and bro, if you look at a video that you have no context of, right? Like maybe in the moment that video was being filmed, there was a lot of context. All the people that were there understood what was going on, right? And why it got to the point where it got. But like you're looking at it objectively out of context. All you have is reactions, right? So the structure of how we consume news today, how we interact online and all that, bro, it has completely made us. It's turning us from a truth-seeking society into a reactive society, right? And when we react, remember, when you react, you're not really looking for the truth, right? You're reacting off assuming that you see the truth, right? So I think that's very dangerous for us, and it's reflected in how the political environment, the economic environment, just everything is just so like
Yeah, even aside from politics, even like the morals, it everything is there's
you,
like as you say binary. There's
and
always a extreme side to everything, and I think, sorry to cut you off. I
go ahead.
think maybe because here on this podcast we try to see the underlying causes of things. For me, I
That's
think,
what we care about.
yeah, I think, and also we are like poli sci majors,
Yeah, man. We like to
so
come up
we
with
like to
theories that have
theory.
never been tested. But hey, man, talking is cheap, so we all talk. That's what it is.
Yeah, but and this for this podcast, our aim is to make I know it's cliche, but we try to make it's try to help to make a change for the better for
Not even that, right? I think
and
it's to me at the core of it is try to have like meaningful and deeper conversations about things, right? Look at things as they are, right? Instead of looking at things as we wish them to be, or at least framing them as we wish them to be, right? Because you can see like a person that belongs to a certain ideology, or not even ideology, like even like on a local sense, like a person that wants to make things as they see them or they wish them to be in their heads, will interpret something differently than a person that's just looking to put things as they are, right? So it's that's what we want to do. We want to go like deeper. We want to go deeper. For example, um, I feel like what I was talking about, right? The social media environment and and its impact on us. It's making us more reactive and all that, and that's actually changing our society, right? Because
yeah.
it's changing. It's giving permission structures, like it's giving permission to the people that belong to the fringes of everything, right? To actually be confident enough to say it, like out loud. And because it always starts online, right? Online, there's no consequence, right? You just say it, whatever. But when it comes to real life, when you're able to have the balls to say it in real life, That's how you know the floodgates have been opened. There's a certain permission structure that allows them to be like, okay, now I can say this, you know, because a lot of people think a lot of crazy shit, right? But for them to say it, it has to take like a major monumental change in our interaction, like in the ways we interact, you know. And I think I'm seeing more of that, generally speaking, right? You see the people that are pro or anti-immigration. You see people like, you know, especially, bro, the Indian issue in Canada is a big one, bro. People are being super racist to Indians, bro. You know, and as a racialized, like as a person, you know me, I'm not like one of those people that like when, you know, don't like. I'm not like, oh, I'm not a race crusader. You know what I mean? I don't like form my identity based on my race and everything, you know. But also, you cannot target a group of people, right? Based on the fact that, oh, the government is accepting a lot of them and they're working everywhere. You know, what do you want them to do, right? Like, do you want them to come here? If they were to come here and not work, it would have been a problem, right? The criticism would be, oh, like they're draining our social safety nets, like in terms of like the government programs and stuff, right? But at least they come here and they try to work. You know what I mean? Most of them, obviously, they come with their own, you know, issues and whatever. But I just feel like it's wrong that people are so comfortable now attacking the Indians in general, right? Like, I'm for like, yo, East Asian, East or South Asians, like, yo, let's kind of tamp down the immigration, like, you know, on that, right? Just to be able to allow the country to adjust to to the amount of people that are already here, right? Like, because there's a, you know, and also you can't make those decisions without really the support of the people, right? Because the way it goes is like, yo, if you're letting a lot of people in, there's only so much that we have to share, right? Like that means there's just every average Canadian is just losing a little bit of what, you know, a little bit of opportunity because there's more competition for jobs, a little bit of like, you know, social programs, a little bit of everything that's available to them is taken away. Just it's being chipped at a little bit by bit, right? And that's not
I
right.
think that is in part true.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's intuitive to think that and we talked about it on our first podcast regarding immigration, but I think it's intuitive to say if one person comes in my house, I'm gonna lose a little bit of. Uh,
It's not intuitive. It's true.
it's intuitive, but
It's not
it's also,
intuitive. It's true.
if you think about it, uh, if you think about it really, it can be a part of an ideology, and that's dangerous
No, no, it's
because
not. It's not. I understand where you're coming from because
and
that ideology is because, you know, it's funny, right? People like to do this also, right? That ideology already exists, right? And now what happens is anything that resembles a little pushback on a issue like immigration is completely put in the bag of that ideology, which is not true, right? Like I said in the beginning, we want to recognize the facts as they are on the ground, right? And what I recognize is I don't look at pro-immigration or anti-immigration based through an ideology lens, right? I look at it through a practical lens, right? Like reality, what's on the ground, right? And to me, personally speaking, what I see is my quality of life in terms of the opportunities that were available to me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they are no longer available to me. I'll give you an example: finding jobs. Like, that's the most basic thing, right? That everybody goes through and stuff like that, right? My little brother, he's 16, 17 years old, right? At that age, where does a kid of that age usually work at to gain like the biggest professional experience that can even change the trajectory of their lives based on understanding, oh, this is how to be a good employee, this is how I provide for myself, tasting their first paycheck and everything, right? They should work at places like Tim Hortons, at fast food places, at things like that. And who's filling those jobs? Who's filling those jobs? You don't have to go to Statistic Canada to know who's filling those jobs, right? Because every little city I go to, the other day I was in Montreal. All the Tim Hortons I went to were Indian people. The other, when I go to Toronto, same things. When I go to Windsor, same thing. When I go to any other city that in Ontario that I've been so far, you know. So I'm saying that that's taking away the opportunity, because obviously a Tim Hortons manager, he wants to hire someone that's more that he knows will be dedicated to his job, because they have more to lose without their jobs than someone that, oh, like, you know, some young kid that's just, you know, gonna quit. Because, you know, it's also a fact that kids, generally when you hire teenagers, they tend to quit and be absent. They tend to be late and all that, take their jobs less seriously, right? There's a lot of issues that come with that, but we need to get them working at a younger age. That's important for the future of our country, in my opinion. That's what I have to say on that, but you can expand.
Okay, I understand. Like it makes sense what you say 100%, and and the reason I said it's intuitive is because, like, how do I say this? So for an basically, everything has an underlying ideology, whether but it could be hidden, and that's a dangerous thing because at first you said, that you're against the racism against Indians in Canada, and I agree. But the thing is, when people say, okay, immigrants are taking our jobs, I don't believe that's true.
You don't believe that's true because you're an immigrant, nigga. So how would you, you know? So
I don't believe that's true.
you're telling me that I'm coming at it from an ideological sense. Like, you're not coming at it from an ideological sense too. You know?
Yes, I
There's-
am.
Yeah. So exactly.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's dangerous ideology that can turn into something. I saw a video of like a it was, I don't know what kind of video, but it was showing that like Tim Hortons workers, and it was showing Tim Horton back in the days, where there was like a grandma, a retiree work, no, not a grandma, old person, and teenagers, and people in the comments were saying, oh, when Tim Hortons was good back in the day, I don't go to Tim Hortons anymore. Or things like that, things that are what you would call racist.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what you were doing there is basically the same thing.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, right?
And
I
we don't realize that.
But this is a perfect.
And today, I actually, when I was walking, I was like thinking about how an ideology can do some. It starts out as something that is inconsequential. It's like you don't see any bad thing, but it can actually turn into something that's dangerous, and that's why I'm
okay. You see,
saying
this is the
And
this is I have a strong rebuke to what you just said. You know what? Because I completely agree with
I have
you.
anecdotal and even okay, maybe I'm gonna go extreme.
Yeah.
But the words you see in the word, the conflicts, everything start from a single idea, single idea. But
Not a single,
and then
like a
it
little,
builds up.
a small
It
action.
builds up, and intellectuals rationalize it, and it turns into something catastrophic.
Yeah, but
and that's why I'm
but-
pushing
but-
back
but
on
I,
this.
I completely understand. But the thing is, you're talking about when something becomes extreme, right? When something, like, because of the intensity of the issue, like, it becomes extreme. People start from a common sense perspective. They start really, like, from like, bro. To me, a critique of saying, a government has a duty to prioritize the people that are inside their borders more than anything else is not a controversial thing. I think like that. If I was today back home in my country, I would say the same exact thing. I would say, listen, my government has a duty towards me, a responsibility to prioritize my well-being before prioritizing the well-being of any outside stranger. If I'm within my family, I would say the same thing. That's just how I think. It has nothing, and that's
That's
a common.
understandable.
Yeah. But now, listen. Now, what you're saying dangerous is the conversation has become so polluted, right? It has become so polluted. I hate those people that comment, oh, like I wish Tim Hortons was the same as back in the day and stuff like that. Because if you look at my comments against immigration, is I came at it from a perspective of actually letting us be able to absorb the people we currently have and make sure that we are still making room for the people in our country to like to go up in terms of economically and opportunities that are available health wise, having a doctor, having access to healthcare, the wait times in a hospital. It affects a lot of things, a multitude of things, because all the public services, they now get stretched because they serve more people. It's just understandable. Have you ever seen a more inefficient service than the service of the government? You know, and it's gonna make it even less efficient. It drags the country down in a way if it's
It
done in an irresponsible way. That's a solid, understandable, non-racist, non-dangerous critic, in my opinion. But you got the people that are onto the like far end of that critique that ruin it for the common sense proposals and the common sense critique that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Just like on the other position, there are also people on the far end of that of that argument that are pushing for crazy stuff, right? So that's just how it is. Initially, the proposal and the critique is always like, okay, it doesn't come from a bad place, it doesn't come from any place, you know. It's just like, oh, okay, I see where we can adjust something, right?
Yes.
And then as time goes on, it just people hijack the narrative, right? People with bad intentions hijack the narrative. Someone could use this critique. Someone that's a racist could use this critique that I just said, right? About the immigration, the fact that we have to be a little bit like stop it a little bit, right? Someone that's racist can use that to say, oh yes, we have to stop it, but the reason why he's saying that is because he doesn't want to see people that are different than him in his so-called country, whatever, right? Or people like so the narrative can be hijacked, and when things get this big, the narrative has always been hijacked.
What I'm saying is that yes, it's common sense, and it could be like we should reduce immigration so that people within the country can have more of opportunities, more access to services. But the thing the problem is that it shifts the blame to the immigrants.
No,
It shifts the blame to
no,
the immigrants.
no, no.
No. This is what I'm understanding, because you're
but
saying less immigration,
no.
better
But
quality
no,
of
no, no,
life.
no, bro. If you look at it, literally, this conversation started because I brought up how annoyed and how it makes me mad that Indians are being attacked everywhere now, right? How it makes me mad because I can put myself in those positions, right? Not only that, as someone with my identity and profile people like me have already been throughout history been attacked and for things that they're not even responsible with, right? Me, when I say that, what makes you think that I blame them for the current immigration situation that we're going through? I blame the liberals, I blame the government. I don't blame them because they're supposed to already know that. They're supposed to be pro immigration but know that it's very very sensitive that how you implement it, and know that you have to be pro immigration but still keep in mind that your number one job is the people that are inside your country and their well-being, and anything that you do that impacts them and affects them has to be treated very very delicately, right? It's the recklessness of their policies. It's their mentality of like, this is no longer a country. It's a what's it called? Like it's a non-nation nation type of thing. Like that's what I'm pushing against. I'm not pushing against. I don't want any immigrant to be mistreated. I myself, I'm an immigrant, right? But my thing is, I want this. I want the opportunities and the everything good that a country like Canada has to give immigrants. I want it to increase, right? And how we increase that is not by recklessly having a flow of immigration that's not checked, that's not balanced, that's not put against the our interests in terms of national security of interest. All those things matter too, because all those things keep us a country that's good enough that people want to come into, right? How can you maintain like a good country? How can you talk about maintaining a good country if you let like you have a reckless immigration policy or a reckless economic policy? It goes hand in hand. Like that's why the job is difficult, because you have to balance a lot of interests, in my opinion. That's and saying that is not it shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be looked at, oh, dangerous, or because, bro, the thing about it is, if we're not having these conversations openly, the people that are in power will have them behind our backs and make the decisions for us. If you think about it, anything that they know that the government that the public is against, they tend to be scared to touch it, or to make an action that's opposite of the public desire. So they themselves need to see us having these conversations, so they can gauge the temperature and know where we're at. So based on that feedback, they can make policies accordingly,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
So
These conversation need have to be made, especially in a
yeah, because, bro,
democratic society, because it's part of being a democracy, and it's
it's
part
part
of, yeah. And I realize sometimes we push back things, but it's not right. Like everyone should
bro,
have a.
it's really like, the thing about it is, bro, like a lot of things that you know what, even I could say it traces back to people like Donald Trump, right? A lot of reasons why things are happening, currently happening, that the liberals hate, that like certain people that looked at the the life of previous, you know what I mean, how a politician should carry himself, how he should talk, right? Oh, he doesn't talk respectfully. Now everybody's trying to talk whatever. All that happened because the prior decades, for so long, we've tried to qualify things as dangerous, conversations as dangerous, try to kind of muzzle things, right? Muzzle certain conversations that we that a lot of people want to have, but they can't have because the structures, the social structures doesn't allow them to have it, right? Because they lose a lot. So you having a conversation, people, basically, that's even disrespectful to the audience, right? Because you're saying that the conversation is so dangerous that the person that's going to absorb the conversation, we cannot trust them with that conversation. We cannot trust them to cipher that conversation, filter that conversation, and take what they think is valuable and leave the rest, to the side. Like, that's also dangerous, because it becomes, it's authoritarian in a different way.
It
Like,
is.
so
I think it's like police, but
policing words.
between
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
But the reason I said it, I said it's dangerous. Again, maybe it's a circular argument, is because those things can really have you can plant a seed into someone's mind, and then it can lead them to do things or say things that. But anyways,
But also, you have to understand, right? If that conversation planted that seed, that means that seed was already going to be planted, right? Because the person was already thinking like that, right? And you just give them like a little bit to kind of maybe initiate action on it or whatever, right? But it doesn't take away
so
from
do,
the
so do you think freedom of speech should be like 100%
I
freedom of
think
speech?
I think it should be
You, sh-
100%.
you think it
Especially,
should be
I
100%?
think especially on the individual side, right? Not maybe on the group side, not on the, like, you know what I mean, on like when, like, there's like, okay, the liberal party saying this type, having this type of, we should filter like people that have huge groups that support them, right? We should always try to make sure that we have like basic rules, right, of the game and stuff, right? But in terms of in the individual sense,
What do you
hundred
mean
percent.
group?
Like, so let's say
Like someone who has power cannot
yes,
say,
let's say someone who has power has a responsibility. Do you
okay.
understand? But an individual right? As an individual Canadian himself, and he should be able to say a lot of. He should
And
be able to say anything. You know,
sure.
that's their right. You know, he should be able to insult you, even though it's wrong. He should be able to insult you. You know,
Okay.
he should be able to say things that offend you, even though it's wrong. Even though I'm against whatever they say, that's to me that's an inherent right, and that's the best defender of bad governments in terms of like authoritarianism or like totalitarianism or everything, all those isms that we don't like, or dictatorships. That's like the biggest fight, right? Because usually what happens, it's through those conversations that we can fight against the powers that may be, right? Because when they see us forcefully pushing back against certain things, when they see that many people talking against it on an individual basis, they will be scared. Like they won't touch those areas. Like in terms of, it's almost like an indirect, invisible check on power.
Okay, that's true, but that's true that you know, freedom of speech can act as a check on power, but I don't know how I feel about that. I think it should be limited.
No, it shouldn't, bro.
I think it should be limited. I see here in Canada, like people talk to the prime minister the prime minister try to shake their hand, they don't shake their hand back. Like
They should. They
okay,
should.
that's true, and that is okay, but
Mm-hmm.
not for me.
No, no, no.
Not
It's
for me.
okay,
I don't.
bro.
I don't.
Bro, yeah,
There
no,
we
I
disagree.
understand because you come at it from like a of like a there's a inherent respect, right? That we should show, right? To our like public officials, that like at least to higher authority, right? They you come at it from like, oh, like the way you were raised, like the structure in the families, traditionally, even me, right? Like I can
So
never
you
talk.
support
No, no,
someone not
no.
shaking the prime
Listen,
minister hand?
listen. I can never talk back to my dad. I can never talk back to my mom. It's very, very like disrespectful. I come from that type of family and stuff like that, right? But 100%, I believe that that person has the right not to shake their hand as long as they're not physical against the prime minister or whatever. Because bro, at the end of the day, the prime minister is there because he's there to implement something that he
So do you
promised.
think the prime minister can satisfy everyone?
He can't, but that's the
He
beautiful
cannot.
part. That's the
He
beautiful
cannot.
part.
Okay, so he can't. So you believe that because someone wasn't able to be satisfied, they shouldn't respect them enough to shake their hand?
No, it's not that. It's because the fact that that person.
How is that
No,
society
no,
gonna
no, no,
like?
no, no. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Right. First of all, public officials need to understand one thing, bro. When you decide to jump in there, you're in the pressure cooker. The environment there is hot. It's really hot. You gotta feel it. You know why you gotta feel it? Because it's the nature of the job. It's the nature of the urgency, right? Because you're responsible for so many people, and you need to continue feeling that pressure in order to make sure you understand you're here to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to help Canadians, right? So the minute that's let off, the minute that there's no accountability, that's our form of accountability, bro. They talk about, bro, let me tell you something. We are a democracy, but we are really not a democracy. And how I can tell you that is because the parties choose our prime ministers. We don't choose our prime ministers. It's the parties, right? Because it's the person that the party elected that becomes the prime minister, because we elect parties. We don't elect individuals,
Okay,
right?
but we live in
So so it,
we elect our representative who
yeah, it's
in turn.
representative democracy, blah blah blah, right?
So
But let me tell you,
that's democracy,
let
but
me
but democracy is not one form.
it's
There's different forms.
no,
We
there's
live in
different forms, right? But there is also limited forms. There's limited forms because you cannot tell me you making a choice because you picked out this coffee from like 1,000 different options, rather than you tell me, okay, Aliyu, you have this one or this one, pick your favorite one, right? Does that limit the scope of my choice? Yes or no? It does, right? It does. But if you have a party that's been doing business as they have been for years, right? They have internal structures, right? That kind of put down dissent, that kind of doesn't allow for free flowing of new ideas of everything. That means we are really at the control of those people too. That means those people have power because they can go from what they know, from the information they have internally. They can choose someone
Okay.
that they think is the best person to represent the country at this moment. Because at the end of the day, you vote either liberal or conservative. You don't vote for one person. So at the end of the day, you're not voting for individual that's coming out of nowhere, that's telling you, oh, I'm going to do this for you, you're voting from someone that's already comes from the swamp.
Okay. Now I have a question. Can you answer like this, like straightforward? Do you trust the government of Canada?
I think it depends in what area, right? Because if
No, like the government. Like, do you have the trust of the government? Do you trust?
I think in a basic sense, I do trust the government.
Okay.
You know?
And that's why you're here.
Yeah.
Because if not, you would like rather be somewhere else, or you would be somewhere else, or you wanted to be somewhere else.
I have to say something, bro. Despite my harsh criticism, Canada is the best country in the motherfucking world, bro. I have to say that strongly, bro.
Okay.
It's very. I would take Canada. I'm so like thankful that my dad, because my dad started in the U.S. Before he came to Canada, right? So I'm so thankful every day that he dipped from the U.S. to come here, because I just feel like the nature, the spirit of the country is much better than any other country in the world.
No, I feel like in Canada you can just go about your business. You don't even have to know who's the prime minister,
You
who's
really
the
don't. You don't
representative.
really.
You just go about your
don't
business
really.
and you let other people deal with that. But the reason I asked that question is because here in Canada we have first party post the whatever the voting system, the electoral system name is.
First to
First post.
50 plus one.
Yes, but I asked that question because if you really trust the government, you should trust that the party you choose will choose someone who best represent the party. Plus, when you choose the party, you are voting for their
Platform.
for their ideas, what they want,
Yeah, their platform.
what
Their agenda.
their agenda. So either way, like whoever will become the prime minister, they will still implement
But
those ideas.
here you're completely wrong. Let me tell you why you're
No,
wrong.
because if not, then you don't really trust the party.
I don't trust trust.
So
No.
if
No,
I'm wrong,
but
then
the
you
party
don't
is
trust
not
the
the
party.
government. The party is not the government.
But once
you know what I mean?
once
The government
it is
is the
elected,
constitution.
once it is elected, it is the
Yeah,
government.
no. It is.
That's
the,
why we say the
it-
government agencies, the government department.
That's why it's wrong.
Because when
That's why
now the liberals are
Let me tell you.
the government.
Let me tell you something. You know that a liberal MP or a conservative MP is not allowed to vote against their party line?
Yeah,
You know, why is that? Why is that in your opinion?
because of the party.
If they're a democracy in their own internal
You're right.
why is that, bro? Because
It's-
sometimes you should be allowed to go against your party and still keep your membership. That's where
then what
that-
is the point of
that's
party
bro if
membership?
the party, bro, let me tell you something. If the party itself in its own power structures, it treats the lower classes in its own party as like they have full power over them, like totalitarian level of power over them. That's what they're gonna that's the nature in which they're gonna govern. I guarantee you that, my friend. You know why? How I know that? Because I can't say that on camera.
It's party
But-
cohesion, and that's the game
no,
of
party
the
cohesion.
that's the nature of the game.
Party cohesion.
That's how the
through
game is played.
No. But party cohesion through conversations, through persuasions, through like work collaborations, not party cohesions too. The party thinks that this on the issue, so I should think complete like the same thing, especially publicly. So
Publicly,
who's
publicly.
gonna be in that party that can actually understand the opposite audience of that issue in question? Who's gonna be like, oh, so the party literally, you know what I mean? That's even beside the point. Throughout the history of Canada, you know what they realized? The cabinet decides, the prime minister and the cabinet decides everything for the party. The party members, the people in the party that are
Who
only,
said that?
bro, it comes out. It comes out through the way they do business. It comes out through the way they do business. They replace members. They don't even respect democracy. You know why? Because, bro, what happened last election? Poliev, he lost his conscription, right? What he does, he goes to Alberta to make sure the guy that's already a conservative that was on that seat, he kicks him out and he runs in his place and he's elected because he's in a conservative majority conscription. So how do you think that person is representing the people if he doesn't have a connection to the place that he's running for? You know why? Because the guy that's running is not coming from the community. He's coming from the party. So how do you get representations? Like, you know what I mean? That's a big problem. That's a major problem. Like that. That's a reform that I'm advocating for, because the parties have too much power, bro. They have too much power.
Okay, sure. But also, what I was saying is that if you do believe in the government, if you do believe in what the party says it will do, whoever will get elected will do what the party is supposed to do. If you don't believe that, then you don't believe in your party. So simple.
No, no, I
And
don't believe in the party
but
structure.
let's move forward
Okay, okay.
because I want to also, what was I gonna say? You mentioned something I don't remember now, but it'll come later.
Okay. So, I mean, en tout cas, like, to wrap this thing up, like, because I've always felt like that, and I understand why some people from the outside, they look at it like, oh, Etusa. But if you look at the internal procedures of the government, you will understand why this is very, very lopsided towards the party. Because what we want, what you want at least from a party is a party that cares about the community in which it serves, right? It's elected, right? And how do you show you care about the community in which you have a seat on? Is by making sure that community and the person that represents it has a connection, right? That is more than, oh, I'm a guy that's okay. They look at my profile. Oh, I'm a businessman. I've done a lot of things, and boom, I decide to run. Okay, I go talk to the liberals. They decide to put me in this community. I go there and I campaign. Blah blah blah. Blah. They make me look good, and I get elected. What type of support should be organic? It should be communal. Like, it should be like, you know what I mean. It shouldn't be like those type of party behind the doors, backroom deals. That's what's going on right now, bro. That's what's going on. Le premier ministre, the prime minister. Sorry, I just started going in French, bro. The prime minister. The reason he has so much power is because he's the party's head. It's not because our constitution has bestowed upon him so much power. It's because in his position as a head of the party, he controls the votes. Because if he wins an election, he controls parliament. You
What
know?
what I want to push back is like the whole thing about like elites and rulers. People, I don't know. In That's something I never understood. Like people, you know how people say NPCs, or this person looks like an NPC, or this person like the them they use them a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. First of all, it makes you it doesn't give you, like, you think you have no agency of over anything. You know how people talk about the matrix. That I never understood.
I understand what you're saying, but I also understand where they're coming from. But 100%. That means that also means you're kind of submitting. You're giving up power to
Yes,
that, to
to
they, them,
them.
whatever.
While
You
you're
know.
trying to say
Yes.
them, they shouldn't be controlling us.
Yes.
You're actually giving
Yeah,
them.
you're giving. Yeah, you're submitting in a way, right? You're
Yes.
right. You're right, because you have to understand there has to be a no. This is a universal truth, right? No politician's power or control will never be responsible for your own failures as a person, right? Because there's a deal where they create the conditions for your success, but your success is strictly based on you and your capabilities, right? So there are individuals that can succeed in harder environments, right? Meaning that even though the government is not doing their part, they are capable enough to succeed, right? So there are people that don't like. So basically, you only have limits. The limits you have are the limits you put on yourself, right? I do believe that, right? You have an inherent, like, you have to you have to take initiative, right? It's upon yourself to take initiative and to make things happen for yourself, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't keep them accountable for not completing their part of the deal. You know what I mean? So that doesn't mean that you cannot criticize them. Even though you criticize them hard, you have to do what you have to do to make sure that
You get food on the
you
table.
huh?
You get food
You
on the
yeah,
table.
you get. But that doesn't mean you disregard, because they owe you that. They owe you that
Yes.
because also, just, bro, just look at your paycheck, bro. Look at your paycheck. Look at the difference if you get that, when you get that net or gross. Like, that's a big part of your life that you're giving away. That's your labor, bro, that you're giving away. That's waking up every day, working full time, sacrificing time with family and whatever, everything else that you have that you want to do for yourself, or your time and stuff like that, so they should be held accountable accordingly, 100%.
Yes, but also I wanted to. I remember what I wanted to say. So basically, the voting system here is different from the U.S., and we can see why. Like, imagine if here in Canada, just imagine if we would choose the prime minister. Please imagine,
That
imagine the
would be better.
chaos
No,
in
that
every
would be better.
country. In
Because
every country where there is a
do you know
presidential election.
do you know what's synonymous with democracy? It's chaos. You know why Plato hated democracy? The father of all the political thought and all that. He hated democracy because the chaos he brings, right?
So
So, so,
why would I need chaos in
so,
Canada?
brother, the lesson of the story is life is chaotic. Life is chaotic. We've
But
been
there's a way
fighting.
to
No,
reduce
no, no.
chaos, and this is why we love.
Redu-
This is in part why we love
yes,
Canada.
yes, no, no,
Because I
no.
could go a day, I could go 30 years without caring about the
No, no, no.
government and still have a good life.
But the chaos we're talking about is different, right? I hope you understand that we're talking in different arenas, right? We're talking about rhetoric,
Yes,
right?
that's what I'm
Chaos
saying.
in rhetoric,
Yeah,
not
that's what I'm
chaos in
saying.
like,
That's what I'm
oh,
s-
like
Yeah,
people,
that's what I'm
you know what I
saying.
mean? But bro,
Look at what is happening
bro,
in the state.
let's
Please.
let. I mean, bro, it's rhetoric chaos, right? So,
That's
bro,
just as bad as
no, no, no,
as
no, no,
real
no,
chaos.
no, no, bro. That's
And why would I need
that's
to? Why
up
would
to-
I bring? Why would I?
that's up to the individual. You see, that's the thing, bro. It's the perspective of my feelings, how I'm perceiving what the person is saying. You are responsible for how you perceive for yourself, bro. I am not responsible for how you feel based on, like what I said. I'm responsible for saying what I think is out to be, right? You are responsible for, like, you have to be a big boy enough to kind of absorb what I said, and you can absorb it in any way you want. But what you can do, what you cannot blame me is, the difficulty that I'm having with hearing what you're saying or whatever. That's not, bro. This is God gave us. I'm a believer, right? And in our religion, God inherently gave us the will, like la volonté, the will to choose, right? Our paths, right? You can be whatever you want to be. I'm just telling you, this is what you think, what I want you to be, but you can be whatever you want to be, right? We're not angels because God wanted us to have that choice, right? So people have that inherent right to do that. And for me, it's like, okay, yes, the red line is at when it comes to violence, right? But rhetoric, that's not where the red line is. The red line is when it comes to violence, right? So the same thing, like that's why I say, oh, like they're telling me, oh, this system is that, this system is that, bro. As long as the Constitution of Canada protects my rights as an individual, I'm always okay, regardless of who the government is in power. I'm always gonna feel okay. But when the law is against me, that's when, or when there are laws that's being passed that I think is against the average person, that's when, like, whatever. So at the end of the day, I just feel like we've become low key. We've become a society that makes rules based on how it makes other people feels, rather than a society. And also, you don't want to be too much on the other end, but you want to be a society that makes rules based on what nature is giving back to you in terms of feedback, based on what reality is giving back as feedback, right? But we've moved away from that. We've become very, very, like, very soft in our, you know what I mean, less ambitious, because we want to make every little group, we want to be like, oh, we don't want to offend them, like, Allah, bro, sometimes we need to do things have to be done. There are things that has to be done every day. Your kid doesn't want to get into the car, he doesn't want to sleep at the right time, but it has to be done sometimes, and he's not going to like the process in which it's done. It's things, you see those things at local sense, that happens locally every day in your family, bro. It can be extrapolated in terms of, like, the world and society and all that. So that's my opinion. But I also understand your reticence to kind of, like, you know what I mean. I always understand that there. It's always there in the back of my head, like, oh, when have we gone too far in saying things or doing that and that and that. But I think certain things, regardless of how they make us feel uncomfortable, have to be said. They have to be said. We're humans. We're so complicated. At the end of the day.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. So we kind of went off on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but aside from that, did you see the? I don't know if you saw also the news, like, the so Doug Ford put out an ad in the U.S., like, to kind of, like, let the American people know that, like, the tariffs are wrong, like, this is not like how you protect Americans' economic interests, like, even President Reagan, like, which was a American president into 1980s, was he was absolutely against tariffs. He said, look what he said, but it's bad for the economy, right? And that pissed off Trump, and he increased our tariffs by 10% in reaction, and he he cut off all negotiations, which is, I think, it's childish, in a way. Like, you can't react like that as a leader of a country. So because of that, it's not even because of what the federal government did, right? It's because of what the provincial government decided to do to protect, like, to kind of, like, fight the tariffs and stuff like that in the minds of the American people. So I was wondering, like, what do you think of that in terms of, you know, uh, like, the impact and everything?
Okay, that just it just made me react, bro, inside of me,
Yeah, you're like,
negatively,
yeah,
because the Trump is always in the news. That's what he does the best.
yeah,
Every, like, if
yeah,
a week passed by without seeing Trump in
yeah,
the news, I'm wondering what happened.
yeah.
But he's always in the news, and I
It's
like
a
some
good
of his
strategy. It's
yes.
a good strategy if I was him, right? Because as long as you're in the minds of the people, you kind of matter, and you know what I mean. Sometimes the power is not really in the actions. It's really like, because he's so much in the news. It's almost like he's omnipresent. Therefore, we attribute that to his powerfulness. You know what I mean? Like, in our minds, right? So basically, it's a way of submitting, making people submit to him, if you know what I mean. Because he's so much in our in our minds, on a daily basis, in the things he's doing. He's kind of, our response is like, even though there are some people that hate him, or don't like him or love him, they're like, inherently everybody's reaction from that is like, oh, he's so powerful. You know, like the perception that comes out of that, right?
But I think it makes me react bad because I feel like now, okay, politics is all is it's like you're at a show
Reality TV show.
like performing,
Yeah,
but like Trump just increased that
yeah.
like tenfold, and I don't see the reason. Like it just makes things like they're funny without they're not funny, and they shouldn't be funny. Like I feel like my conception of politics it should be serious. It shouldn't be reactive like that. It should be reactive. It
You
is
shouldn't.
reactive, but not at that level.
So you know,
So
it's one of those
so
things
that's
where
it.
we kind of like substitute substance for
And
performance.
also it makes me question of the it
The
makes me question
seriousness.
authenticity of it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
always
and
because
this.
every time I hear that stories, my trust lesson for politics in Canada
Yes,
and
yes. No,
US
no. I understand. I understand
or
completely.
respect like Trump's
Yeah,
politics.
no, I understand what you mean, right? Because it
Every
brings
day
us.
he's always on Twitter
Yeah.
as he gets a lady typing things for him.
It
It lessens his authenticity.
no.
That's
I
what I
think.
would say.
I
Did
think.
you see the video where he tells he basically he indict une femme
Yeah, yeah,
comme
yeah.
pas
He
écrire. He
dicks. Yeah,
doesn't
it's actually a
write.
cool video. I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's like, but anyways, from that, you know what I mean. It basically makes things, instead of things going on a very uh like serious manner, like based on substance and based on like a lot of work on the details and everything. It makes things go based on the mood of one person, right? So if he's happy, like, oh, things are going well or whatever, and if it's not, things are not going well, and a country cannot operate like that just because in terms of economics, people project into the future, right? So they need to know the rules of the game in order to make moves, to make decisions into the future, right? And that's what's bad about it. Like, you know,
That's
like people need stability and certainty in order to do things, right? To make decisions, to plan things and all that, etc., right? Especially people, like, you know, I like some people, their personalities lean a lot to that. Like, I would say you, right? In terms of your personality, like, you like to know in order to plan, like, for contingencies, like plan A, plan B, like, you know, you're
yeah.
just that type of
If
person.
you're someone like if
And
someone is with money, they would know they would like to plan. Okay, am I gonna invest in this? Am I gonna risk my money? What if
yeah,
the interest rate
and
goes
me,
up
I'm
down?
one of those people that think part of the excitement and
Or
pleasure is playing on an uncertain field. Like, that's just me personally. Like, you know what I mean? When I look at things, how I do things, you know, like in terms of like, I don't like planning the minute, right? I like planning the general,
yeah,
right?
that's what I
You
was
know,
saying.
but like there are people that, bro, there are people that plan their schedule to the hour, bro, like to the minute, you know, type of thing, like on a daily basis, right? Whether they're doing a serious job or doing something, whatever they're doing in their lives, right? And I'm completely different with those people because I like to live. I like to I think like we're, you know, things that happen that are the most interesting things are things that are unplanned, right? Like all the time. But yeah, man, like I feel like definitely economically, most of people like that, you know, most of people that do business, like that are in the highest levels in terms of making decisions and stuff, they don't like that type of, you know, environment where everything is just in the whims of one person and all that, right? But at the same time, what that does too, in a way, is what that does is it kind of makes people, you know, when people, when you know, fear is a way of controlling people, right? So most times, you know, even though he's reacting like that, most times, if I've throughout the deals that he signed with other countries and everything, if I've noticed, people are actually making deals, taking into consideration his reactions. You know what I mean? Like, they're making deals with the United States because they want to avoid being tweeted about, being like talked about in a negative light. Like, when, you know what I mean? So it's, even though it's not working for the markets and all that, it's working in terms of, I'm not saying it's the proper way or whatever, but I'm saying like people are actually adjusting their behaviors, so you can see how that in itself it's a strategy of governance, right? You can see, because you're like, okay, we don't want to get him to say something at a news conference or tweet about us, and just whatever. So we're gonna make sure we avoid, like the points that we know he doesn't like or whatever, which is crazy. Obviously, it's not a sustainable way of doing things, but also there are positives to it that allows him, because if you look at him, he wants people to invest in the United States. He wants like all these Asian countries like Japan. He signed like a $550 billion deal for Japan to invest in the United States. Bro, there has never been some like a deal like that or whatever. For them, in order for them to get their tariffs lower, right? Now Japan, uh, the last week they elected a new prime minister. Okay, now this new prime minister is not the one that signed up to the framework of the current, like the new deal that he's coming to sign with them, right? So what does this new prime minister do, right? Like in terms of like, how do I? They already agreed on the framework. How can I back out of this? Especially seeing the fact that they're like, oh, that's like, it's a big for us to invest that amount. It makes a big impact on our internal budget for our own country, right? So like, how does he pull out of that? How does she pull out of that deal without like creating like, you know what I mean? It's a difficult position to be in, right? Same thing with South Korea. So basically, what I'm saying is there has never been trade deals based on how much a country invest on the United States, right? So if he's able to make these countries invest in in his country, and like shore up their companies, like, like if you look at Japan, they own Toyota, right? So like the amount of Toyota cars that's made in the United States, he's requiring them to augment, right, the rates and stuff like that. So if they end up doing all that, if these deals end up going through and being followed through, bro, it's also a lot of economic positives for the Americans themselves, because they will have jobs, they will have a lot of investments, people will be hiring, and all that. You know what I mean? All that stuff. I think a lot of things that other people that are against him that don't see is his strategy is blunt strategy. It can make people feel like the people that live in America and are nationalists, right? American nationalists. It can make them feel like he's at least doing everything through the eye of like, what can you do for America? Like, every relationship he's approaching with, what can you do for America, and he's openly doing it, right? And that gives them a sense, even though like they believe him to be the same unstable guy as you do, but that gives them a sense that someone's fighting for them, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just explaining it. So that's a positive for him. But yeah,
Yes.
man.
Now we're gonna wrap up
Yeah,
because
man.
it
We went
went
through,
over.
we went ham, but yeah, man. Like this it was a good conversations, more interesting conversations to come. So what do you gotta say regarding what we talked about and everything?
I think we didn't reach the same conclusions, but I think it's part of the
At
the
least,
talk,
at
the
least I
conversation.
understand where you're coming from, and you understand where I'm
Yeah,
coming from,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's the importance, right?
Yes,
So
and I hope that it was able
maybe we'll
to
let
help.
the audience decide. You know.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Comment.
Comment below. Let us know what you think at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
who's right?
Who's
Who's right?
who's
Nah,
right,
nah, nah.
who's wrong.
Nobody's
Because
right. Nobody's
because the
wrong.
next fight will be, it may be physical. Nah.
But also, I want to let the audience know. You can let us know what type of like
Topics you want us to touch on.
topics. Yes.
And because we're not just talking politics over here. We interested about the world. We like to talk about interesting things, like things that that we can debate and really extrapolate value out of. So we want to be able to listen, be bro, because also, what I find with these shows, bro, in the beginning they're so good because they listen to their audiences, right? But once they reach a certain level, they completely like go their own, right? They stop listening to the feedback of their opinion. Like it's almost like that those people that are no longer connected to the people they serve. You know what I mean? Like it becomes it goes bad. You know, I think it's important to listen to the people, you know, you that listens to you. So you know, you want me to wrap it up?
I can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
wrap it up.
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and let me give a word to my co-host.
Yeah, man. Thank you for watching, you know, and being part of the Fobs gang, you know, because we are a gang, bro. You feel me? We're trying to expand, and you know, one of these days, you have hoodies at home, bro. Like saying Fobs gang, you know. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, thank you guys, and you know, no, we're not yet sponsored by Timmy's, but you know, Timmy's can holla at us, because you know, I definitely sponsor them the way I spend on them. But yeah, man, thank you guys. We hope you like the conversations, and we want you to come back for more. And we also wish you all the best.